Tampa, Florida. How many of y'all ever heard of Ponce de Leon projects? Tampa, Florida. Okay. Well, I was going to get my mom out of Ponce de Leon projects and all of that stuff. It didn't work out. You know, how many of y'all had some plans that didn't work out before? Anybody in here? Okay. Well, my plans did not work out the way I wanted them to work out. But we used to have conversations about money in my house all the time. And the only difference about the conversations I have now and what we're going to talk about is about how much money we didn't have. Anybody ever had those type of conversations? You know, why are you spending money on that? Any ladies ever been asked that question? Why you don't do something like that? And, you know, when we look at, you know, here's the guys, when we look at our ladies, they come in on a Saturday around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, right? And we sit down and we maybe watch some television or whatever it is, and you give that woman that look. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Guys, you know what I'm talking about? Ladies, you know what I'm talking about? You know that look that I'm talking about? Anybody know that look? What is that look that I'm talking about? What we're going to ask you?
What you did spend? How much you spend?
Well, how much money you spend. But here's what we do. And here is one of the reasons I came to a meeting like this. Okay? Because I used to sit and I would watch my wife come into the house. And how many of you know men, we have a brain that when we use it, it's like an automatic biometric scanner.
Yeah.
That we can look and we can scan you and head to toe, and we can do it in about 3 seconds flat, right? And what happens is there's a calculator that's in our scanner too. And when we don't recognize something that you have on, you walk into the house and we look at you like this. Right? And in my mind, I got to figure. So my next question I'm going to ask you is that new? Right? Now, here's what happened. Here's why I came to a meeting like this. Because I realized that all women, I thought it was just my wife, and I used to get upset. But I realized that all women, I think y'all were born with a chip that was implanted inside of you. And in that chip is something that's an automatic response to that question. Because every man is going to ask that question, and every woman has an automatic comeback. And she's going to look at you and say, no, I've been had this. All right? No matter how long you had it, you've been had it. Now, I had this for a while, right? And so I kept seeing all of this stuff that my wife Ben had. Sometimes she left the tag on it by mistake, right? And so what was going on is I was having these conversations. I got a mark over here, right? I was having these conversations with my wife, and they were about money. I'm going to turn this way right here. There we go. Would that be okay? Yeah. I was having these conversations with my wife, and they were about money. And it was always a complaint. I never had a conversation with my wife about when she came in, and I said, is that new? And she said, no. And I said, well, why didn't you buy more? Anybody ever had that conversation? Ladies, that's like a foreign, that's like a different language, right? We don't hear about that, right? And so it was always a complaint about why she spent money. And the reason that I had a complaint is because I wasn't making enough money. Let me ask you a question. How many of you think Jeff Bezos' ex-wife had ever got asked that question? Probably not, right? Probably not. How many of you think some of the wealthiest people in the world ever ask that question? They don't ask that question. And one of the reasons is because what they did is they earned enough money to solve problems. I just had a car repossessed, and I realized something needed to change. I'm a grown man, I'm living in America, and these people come to get my car. That was just embarrassing. And I got to a point where anybody ever been sick and tired of being sick and tired? Yeah. And I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of making excuses of why my money wasn't right. I had blamed the Republicans. I had blamed the Democrats. I blamed the Tea Party. I blamed the Independents. Anybody who was in office, I was going to blame them instead of looking in the mirror and saying, it's me. And so when I decided that I was going to take control of my financial future, I came to a meeting like this. Got invited to a meeting like this, and I'll tell you about it. But here's the issue that I realized. Right? most of us who are in here, all of us in here, when we're pretty young, we start off with 2 circles that we have in our life. 2 circles, okay? And I normally would prove a point here tonight, but I've got a short time span, and I don't want to prove this point. But we start off with 2 circles that we would normally have in our life. And that first circle is what we call the dream. One of us was born, and I was born at a pretty young age. Y'all didn't get that one. Wait, y'all, look, I'm gonna come pour some coffee and some laughs right here. And so what happened is I was born, became a little, going to school, and I developed what was called a dream. And that dream was all of these things that I wanted. They were fantasies of nice houses, the cars, and all of this stuff that we wanted. And so, and normally what happens is this here. Here we have all of these adults that we have in here right now today. Got a young lady in here. How old is she?
8.
She's 8 years old. Okay. Here's what I know. And I'll tell you this out of 30 plus years of experience of being in business. I've done seminars, and I do seminars sometimes with, I've done them with as much as 15,000 people. And I've done leadership trainings with as much as 2,000 people. Here's what I've done before. I do a little survey, and they don't even know it's a survey. And I actually will prove it, but I'll show you that what I'm talking about is real. And I don't even have to ask you because I already know 95 to 99% of the people live in this example. And so tonight what I want you to do is I really want you to be here for you. Don't be here for me. You don't have to answer questions, to impress me. I want you to be here, and I want you to sit back, and I want you to think about what if what he's talking about is true? What if? Okay. Because what I realize is that there's 2 mindsets that we have. There's a positive mindset that we possibly can have, and then there's a negative mindset. And some of you came in with a negative mindset. It's not a problem. Some of those are the first people to sign up. And the negative mindset is, what if what he's talking about is fake? What if it's not real? And you see the obstacle. You see the problem before the solution has even been created. Okay? And that's okay. I only got a short period of time with you here. But here's what I recognize. I recognize that when I was doing these seminars, I would actually go up and I would have people make a list. And I say, make a list of 100 things that you'd like to accomplish in your life. 100. I want you to assume money's not an object. I want you to assume that anything that you wanted, I write a check for it, pay cash, you wouldn't owe anybody. Just make the list and start going down the list of 100 things that you would like to accomplish before you die. Here's what happened. I would actually have a stack of $100 bills that I'd have in my book. And nobody knew that I had those $100 bills in my book. Nobody knew that I had them. And what I do is and Luis has been a part of some of these seminars that I've done this. Fernanda has been a part of some of the seminars when I've actually done this. And I would actually wait, and I would give them time to write these things down. Just 100 things. And remember, there's no price tag that you've got to negotiate. You say you want it, it's done. And do you know, I can have 2,000 people in the room, and the majority of the people, over 98% of the people, get to number 16 and can't get to number 17. Except my 8-year-olds, and my 9-year-olds, and my 10-year-olds, and my 12-year-olds. And the closer they get to 18, the smaller the list. The closer that they are to retirement age, the less things that are on the list. And one of the biggest reasons is this, is because there's 2 circles that I mentioned that we have. I'm trying to turn this around here. 2 circles. First one is the dream circle, and that's that list of 100 things that I'm talking about. And even if I ask you right now, I already know, I've done this so many different times, I know the outcome, so I won't even bore you with it, and I won't even put you through that challenge. But this right here is that dream list. See, when I was a little kid, I didn't dream of driving the car that I was driving in high school. I dreamed of having a Ferrari Testarossa. I didn't dream of having my, 1979 Toyota Celica. It was, blue and rust, real rust. That wasn't a dream car. Right? But what happened is this here. See, when we're young, below 18, we have these big dreams, and the next thing you know, our parents teaches us how to go out and accomplish those dreams. How many of you had good parents or somebody in your life who told you, hey, listen, here's what you need to do. If you want to get these things, here's what you got to do, Holton. You got to go to school, get a good education, so you can get a good job. How many people with a good job, drive a Ferrari Testarossa? So my mom lied to me day one. Right? I wanted to have this big, huge mansion. How many of you ladies wanted the mansion with your east wing and your west wing, and you played house, and you had your housekeepers, your housekeepers for certain days and certain children? How many of y'all had that in your mind? Mm-hmm. Right? Guys, how many of y'all had a car for every day of the week in your mind? One car, 7 different colors. Why? Because it was a part of your dream. And then what happened is, this is when you had the most fun in your life. This is when you had the most fun in your life. It's like she's right now. All she's doing is she's focusing on imagination right now. She's playing with her doll. It's the most fun you have in your life until the second circle enters your life. And this is when they call you an adult. This is the adult circle, and that circle is actually called the income circle. How many of y'all see the challenge, the problem already? Mm-hmm. What's the problem? I can't hear you. Too small. Too small. Tiny. Too small. Let me tell you why 90+% of people die broke. This is not my statistic. I just read a lot, and I know what the statistics are. This is why. It's not because of education. It's not because of who's in office. It's not because of who the president is. It's not because of who the vice president's going to be. It's not because of any political factor. It's not because of the economy. It has everything to do with these two relationships. Because number one, the person who educated you on how money works lied to you. And they didn't intend on lying to you. They taught you the best that they knew. That was it. Think my mom wanted the worst for me? No. But she set me up for financial failure, loving me. My mom used to always give me the secrets to success. And she used to tell me all kinds of things, kind of like your parents told you some of the same things. Matter of fact, I guarantee you. I'm going to say some phrases, and I don't even know most of you. And I can guarantee you can finish my phrase. Because your mama told you the same thing. Baby, watch out for those get-rich-quick schemes. On your way to success, make sure you play it safe. Put some money away for a rainy day. Rainy day. Why not put money away for an investment? That's what I never told my son to put money away. I'm going to prepare him for a rainy day? No, prepare him for an opportunity. But we've been preparing to be broke. They prepared. Our days are rainy once we become an adult. Why? That's how they trained us, and that's what's up in here in our brains because they prepared us to do it. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Watch out for those get-rich-quick schemes. See, if it's get-rich-quick, it must be a scheme. Did you know Jeff Bezos, when that company went public, became a billionaire in the first 24 hours? That's a scheme, isn't it? See, when somebody else thinks different, it's okay. But for us, when we have an opportunity to change our financial situation in a very quick fashion, it must be a scheme. Why? Mama said that. My mom used to tell me this. Okay. She said, son, be careful, because all the rich people are going to
the bank.
No, going to the mall. Yep, my mom used to say that, though. And so when you think about it, all they did was trying to protect you from failure. Here's why. Because they didn't know how to become a millionaire. And if you tried, they knew that they didn't have the skills. And if you tried, they figured you failed. So I'm going to protect you. I'm going to protect my baby from all of it. I'm going to make sure that my baby don't get hurt. so let me protect you. Rich people going to hell. All that kind of stuff, right? What was the little Bible verse that you say? It's easier for a rich man, enter the kingdom of heaven than something like that.
Then it is for
Or a camel to go through the aisle of needle, whatever it is. I'm telling you, I bought me a skinny camel. So here's what happens though. Here's the problem. It's not that you have two circles. The problem is you got all of these dreams. You become an adult. Income is right here because they didn't properly prepare you. Here's what 95% of the people do. This is, oh, here's my paycheck. Oh, I had mansions over here. I had cars over here. I had all the kind of maids and service people over here, but I'm a school teacher. Oh, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink my dream so I can fit my dream into the income that I have. And so what happened is all those things that you were preparing for in your mind that is available and ready for you, what you did is you just said, you know what, don't worry about that. And then your pastor told you, you need to be content. You need to be content with what you have. You got a roof over your head? Be content. And so what you do is you shrink all of that, and now you live what's called a settle-for life, or a life like I was living. Friday to Friday, paycheck to paycheck, and if I miss income for 90 days, I'd be bankrupt. I don't have to ask you, that's 90% of Americans. You can't fool me with the nice purses and the nice shoes and the nice watch. I know that's just the statistics in America. And so what I realize is I need to do something about that because that's a big problem. How many of y'all know somebody who lives like that? Right? Raise your hands real high. Yes, we all know somebody who lives like that, right? Yeah, sometimes we see them when we brush our teeth in the mirror. We do. And so here's what I want to do right now. Okay? Mike, here's what I want to do. Today is not going to be about convincing you of anything. And the reason why I don't convince is if I got to convince you to live a lifestyle like I live, you're already the wrong person. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of things that allow me to go from that side of having this circle so small over here and having to shrink my dreams. I should tell my wife, honey, why would you want to go and stay at these nice places like the Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons? Don't you know Motel 6 leaves the light on for us? And I would sell her on downplaying her lifestyle. Why? Because I wasn't making enough money. And so, but I learned something from a very wealthy person, a person who became my mentor. And it was a very simple formula. He says, Holton, you can keep on denying yourself and convincing yourself that you don't want and need these things. You can continue convincing that if you want to. Or you can do and become a 5%er. I said, what's a 5%er? I've never heard of these people. He said a 5%er, what they do is that they look for opportunities to increase the income circle so that you can fit all the dreams within inside your income and you don't shrink your dreams. How many of you would rather be a 5%er? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so here's what I want to do right now. If you're not a 5%er, that's not your goal, you're going to have about 45 minutes of nice entertainment because I'm not talking to you tonight. But you can stay. Okay? You can stay. Because you might change your mind next week, or you may change your mind next year. Something may happen, and you may realize that you decided to become a 5%er. Okay? And I didn't know how to do this. And so the issue that I had was, and I asked my mentor, I said, listen, I said, well, how do I increase this right here? Because here's what I was taught. I was taught, I want more money, work overtime. I want more money, get a second job. I want more money, go get a master's degree. Now, I want you to think about this. Have you ever did the math? Our system of education don't educate us. You get a master's degree, you go spend an extra $70,000 on a master's degree. You could have been working, it takes you a year to 2 years to get it. Let's say you have been making $60,000. Takes you 2 years to get it. That's $120,000 that you didn't get. You spend an extra $70,000 on it. You're now $190,000 down. And do you know that the average master's degree only increases your income $5,000 a year? So when you take $190,000 divided by 5,000, how many years does it take to break even? It takes a lot to break even. And so I start to understand, okay, he says, here's what happens when you do that. He says, the issue that you have that's going on for you right now, HB, he says, you are doing something, you are exchanging. He says, if you want to get rich, you got to make sure you exchange something of value and people will give you money for it. Okay? Anybody in here who feels like, outside of this business, you have something of value that somebody in the marketplace will want? If you don't, then you can't get money. You can't get money. And he says, here's your most valuable asset that you're exchanging. You are exchanging your time. And what happens is you go out and you give 40 hours worth of your time. And he says what they're going to do is they're going to actually evaluate how much your time is worth based on your skill set or what they can sell you for on the retail market. They buy your time for wholesale and they sell it retail. A company will never pay you retail for your efforts because they can't make a profit. And so he says they're going to give you the equivalent amount of money on your 40 hours. If you want more money, then you put in more time. Or go get a degree. Why? So that your time can be worth a little bit more. And what I learned and what he told me is this. He says, HB, he says, here is the issue with your time. Okay? He says, one day you're going to run out of time. And when you run out of time, you're going to run out of what? Money. How many of us, and I'm not saying this to be putting this category of people down. How many of us have run into the lady who may be 5 years beyond retirement, and she's standing at the exit door with 2 highlighters in her hand, making sure that everything in your basket was paid for at Walmart. Do you think she's there volunteering her time because she's bored? She ran out of time. And she ran out of money. And her kids are doing what she taught them to do, trading time for money. That's why she has to stand there, because they can't go rescue mom. How many of you have ever seen one mom take care of 5 kids? 5 kids' income can't take care of one mom. Mm-hmm. Because of what I'm sharing with you right now. Here is the thing. Most of you, this is exactly what you're teaching your children. Not because you don't like them. You don't know anything different. You just don't know anything different. Let me ask you a question. How many of you at least went to high school? Any of you have any college in you, right? Raise your hand if you do it. It doesn't matter. I don't have a college degree, so it doesn't matter. I don't care about that stuff. But here's the thing that I learned. Raise your hands if in your college or in your high school they taught you took one course on how to get rich. Well, how do you expect to do it? You think you're just going to luck up and just, I'm cute. And the rich gods are going to come to the cute people, and our bank accounts, they're just going to Bluetooth $1 million in my bank account. Send it over to Wi-Fi, right? No, it doesn't happen that way. It happens because you have something of value that is worth $1 million that you can exchange for money. So let me ask you a question. How many of you right now, if you happen to find, maybe a 40-carat diamond that is just as pure as ever, how many of you could probably sell it for well over $1 million? You didn't get any education, did you? But you possessed something that was worth it. So it's not about how much school you have. It's not even about working hard. It's about having something of value that you can trade for $1 million, or you can accumulate and it becomes worth over $1 million. And today's seminar is not about becoming just a millionaire. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just giving you the idea of you could actually become a millionaire if you wanted to. And I want to wipe clean the slate of everything that you've been taught before, because we've been taught all of this wrong stuff. Here I was 25 years old, and I was broke. $250,000 in debt. I was 45 days away from foreclosure, and they had just repoed my car. My school system and my mother, the best of education that they could offer me, she showed me how to lose $10,000 for every year I was alive. I was 25, and I was $250 in debt. And I was pretty good. I guess that's why I had so much debt, because I was really good at learning. So I took her broke information and I maxed it out, right? Right? Until I met somebody who didn't have a high school diploma. I came to a meeting just like this. Didn't have these camera phones back there. But I came to a meeting just like this. And I'll never forget the guy who was speaking. He was from South Carolina. He flew in from South Carolina. He was from South Carolina, living in Austin, drove in to Houston, Texas to do a meeting. And I came to a meeting. I was broke, I was busted, and I was disgusted. Anybody ever been broke, busted, and disgusted? And I sit in the front row, not on purpose, because I was like, I don't want to sit in the front row. I'm cool. Cool people don't sit in the front row. I had learned, if you sit in the front row, you're a nerd. So you got to sit in the back and be cool and chill, right? That's what I learned. So, but when I got there, my buddy said, hey, listen, I got you a front row seat, reserved. I didn't want a front row seat because I knew I was going to leave before the meeting was over, right? Why? Because I was broke and I was the smartest person in the room. How many of y'all know broke people are the smartest people in the room? We figure out everything before anybody else. And you can't tell me nothing, right? Because I'm very good at being broke. So here's what happens. I'm sitting in the meeting, and I'll never forget, they introduced this guy. Now, my mom had given me the recipe for being broke. I didn't think it was her fault this time. So I'm looking up to my mom. That's my financial hero, man. She taught me everything I know. And I'm like, I really don't know nothing. But I'm going back on all the things she taught me. And when they introduced this guy that they introduced, they said, well, he's 32 years old. He retired when he was 24. I automatically reached over and said, listen, they lying. This is a scam. I'm going to tell you why it's a scam. Because what age you retire at? 65. My mama told me the same lie. You can't retire when you're 24. How are you going to retire when he's 24 years old? You retire when you're 65. And as a matter of fact, you don't even retire at 65. How many of y'all know that?
That's right.
That is the age at which you can collect Social Security, which averages right now about $780 a month. Raise your hand because you can retire on $780 a month. So it's not retirement. It's just money that you put into a system that they're going to give a little bit of it back to you, and they're going to give it to you at a discount. That's all it is. Just a discount. I know how much my mom checked. If my mom didn't have me, man, she'd be lost. Especially during these COVID times. My wife and I, we're talking about it. We're so fortunate that we did this when we needed to, or didn't really have to, because when COVID time came, and people couldn't work, they couldn't, even if you wanted to, they couldn't work. My mom doesn't have my mom has a high school diploma. My mother-in-law has a GED. My dad has a high school diploma. They didn't make a lot of money on their own. And I'm like, what would they have done? What would they have done? And so here I was. They introduced this guy, and I said, this is a lie. And the guy started doing the presentation, and I knew it was a lie when he opened his mouth the first time. I knew it was. Why? Because he had a speech impediment. And he talked real fast and he spit when he talked. When you mix all that together, you don't know what he's saying. And I was like, no, rich people don't stutter. I'm just telling you what I know. Why? I had been trained the wrong way. And so I'm sitting there, I got my arms folded up like this. Why? Because I'm in college. He graduated from high school, Barry. And so I already knew I was smarter than him. Why? I got college credits. I still got somebody where if anybody needs some, I can loan you. I can loan them to you. All right? So I'm sitting there like this, and he starts talking and about some stuff. And I was like, I'm looking around, scanning the room, and I'm just looking at where's the I know it's a catch here some kind of way. Wow, I'm gonna use this college stuff that I've learned, and I'm gonna disprove everything. And so I'm sitting there like this, arms folded, I'm negative. I was so negative, if you'd put me in a dark room, I would have developed. I mean, that's how bad I was, right? I'm like this, and then he gets to one point, and I forgot what he asked, and I said, hold on for a second. I said, sir, listen, I appreciate it all. I said, listen, you got to prove this to me. You know. And I'll never forget, he looked at me. He said, you the college guy, right? Yeah. You know, I guess the person who invited me told him about me. There was a room that probably was about 300, 400 people in this room. Yeah, I'm the college guy. He said, sir, I'm going to share with you why I don't have to prove it. I said, well, no, you do. He said, no. He said, just listen to me. He said, you know, today I earn income on the efforts of over 60,000 people. Contributed to 60,000 people contributed to me earning money today. He said, you went to high school, right? I said, yeah. I said, I was, all American. You're in college too, right? Yeah. So how many years of school do you have total? So I start counting them up, I went all the way back before grade school, and I'm like, yeah, I've got about 14, 15 years of schooling. He said, a lot of coaches and professors and teachers, right? He said, yeah. He said, all those people together only taught you how to earn money from one person? That's the best you can do? And I start scratching my head, and start realizing that maybe I should listen. And at that moment, that was when I opened my mind, and I said, as I came in, I said, I'm not getting in. I don't care how good this is, and they're not getting in my money. And when he said that, I realized I didn't have any money for them to get anywhere. Let me just listen, right? This is going to be a free seminar for me. And he asked me one question after that, and he wasn't trying to put me down. He asked me, he said, sir, he says, if you'll listen, he said, would it be okay if I show you how to make a six-figure income? I'm like, sure, of course. I didn't know what he was talking about. Because I thought he was giving me 6 chances to figure out what his income was. I didn't know. Right? So I didn't associate with people who made money like that. So I was, yeah, man. I didn't know what he was talking about. And I never forget, he finished the presentation, and he said a lot of stuff that I didn't know, that I had not known about. And I said, what do I have to lose by getting myself started? What do I have to lose by positioning myself with this guy? I got involved in that. I'm grateful I did, because I started learning that there were different ways to earn money. And I learned that there were ways to make money called leverage. And leverage was something that I had never heard of when it came to making money. I had never heard of leverage. And so I'm going to talk to you right now for about 20 minutes on this. I'll give you some slides. These are some new slides that they just created for me that I have not even seen yet. So y'all are going to be the first to see these slides along with me. Okay? So if I look like I don't know what I'm talking about, it's because I don't. I haven't seen these, all right? But we're going to talk a little bit about leverage. Now, so we can go ahead and spice it up. How many of you want to become a 5%er again? Raise your hand. 5%er. That's what I'm talking about. Now, so what I'm going to share with you right now is this here. Okay? Let me go ahead and fast forward through that story. I got started in this concept here I had been involved in network marketing before and never made any money, but this time here, when I listened to this guy and I came to that meeting, here's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. When I came to that particular meeting, yeah, take care of that for me. When I came to that meeting, here's what happened for me. Can it happen to you? It can. Will it? I don't know. This is what I did. I went out and I said, if this guy will actually show me a system and do some of the work with and for me to get me started, I'm all in. I'll do it. Short period of time later, I started being able to make some money. By the age of 26, I was making more money per week. I was making about 4 times per week than I was making per month on my job. And I never forget, that was when I called in well. I know y'all are confused. How many of y'all ever called in sick? Called in sick. Any of y'all ever practice your cough when you call in? And you know you're gonna see right now, you can call in right now and just sneeze and it's a stay home. You sneeze on the phone, I'm on my way. No, don't worry about it. Hey, you got a 14-day vacation, right? Back then we called it slick. And I never forget, I called in to my boss, Mike, and I called and said, hey, Mike, listen. It was about 8:30. I was supposed to be working at 8 o'clock. I called in 8:30. Mike answered the phone. Who's this? I said, it's Holton. He says, oh, Mike, he says, Holton, you're supposed to be here at 8 o'clock. I said, hold, bro, don't lower your tone. How many of y'all have a work voice? You have a work voice. Your friends heard you talk like that. They disown you, right? It's that submissive voice, right? That low tone voice. But I'm making my own money now. You know, I got enough money to own my own job. So Mike starts yelling at me, oh, man, lower your tone, man. I said, I'm just calling. Why? Because it protects them from having to find out. So they call it pyramid, right? He said, yeah, I know you've been around here doing those little pyramid things. I heard you on the phone, and I see what you've been doing. He says, listen, those things end. And I've been around a time or two. He said, listen, you need to put a 2 weeks notice in, because if you don't, I'll make sure you never get a job in this industry again. I said, no problem. 2 weeks you'll notice I still won't be here. Right? I was 26 years of age. Here's what happened with me. So I was 26 years of age when I retired. Okay? So this proved my mom. And when I told my mom I was retiring, she said, you can't. I said, why? She said, you ain't old enough. Right? So she still don't understand. And up until about 35, my mom would always tell me, baby, you need to go back to school and get your education. This is what she should say after. Because that's something nobody can ever take away from you. Nobody can ever take away from you. Raise your hands if anybody ever broke in your house and tried to steal your phone. Anybody been pulled over and jacked for your degree? They jacked for it? Nobody can ever take. So I'm like, where is this? Who want to take my education anyway, right? Because that's what my mom knows. So I retired at 26. I actually became a millionaire at 28 years old. Okay, this is when I became a millionaire. Okay, at 30 I became a multi-millionaire. I'll just put multi. All right, and so here I had now learned. It took me 4 years from this time mastering this stuff. I became a multi-millionaire. And so I started learning that life was much simpler. It was much easier on this side of the money. My conversations became much different than what they used to be before. Okay? And what I noticed was I wasn't happier. I was already a happy person. I was just happy and broke. Right? That's all. I've always been a chipper, positive guy. I just didn't have to worry about bills. Bills still came, but I never had to worry about how I was going to pay them. I didn't have to be creative. I never forget, I was so broke one time that I would actually here's what I would do, guys. This is why I say broke people are very smart, because we figure stuff out. I was so broke, I would actually take my electric bill, and I look at my gas bill, my phone bill. Because I would play, we play pick 'em. So when all the bills together, we pick one out of the bowl, that's the one we're going to pay. That's all we have money for, pick one out of the bowl. And so one day, I didn't have enough money to pay these bills, and I talked to another broke buddy of mine. So my broke buddy gave me a strategy on how to live being broke. He said, listen, here's what you do. He said, you take your check of your light bill, and your gas bill, and your phone bill. And what you do is send them to the wrong companies on purpose. So send your light bill to your phone, send your phone to your gas, and when they get the check, they're going to know you tried to pay them. So they're going to extend your services. They're going to send you the check back. Oh, yeah, no problem. We'll extend you the courtesy of your services. Just put another check. And that used to buy me time. Why? I didn't have any money. I had to be creative. How many of you would like to just pay it all off?
Yeah.
At age, maybe 37, 38, I became completely debt free. Debt free. Okay? And that's the way I live today. Debt free. I'm talking about, people say, well, you're debt free outside of your house. No. I own, in terms of personal, I own a lot of real estate, but personal residence, I've got 3 personal residences right now. All 3 of them total up to be about $16 million. I pay cash for them. I don't do the mortgage thing. Why? Because I am the bank. When you can be the bank, why go to the bank, right? So I'm going to show you how you can be in that same position. All my cars, I got over $2 million worth of cars. I wrote checks for all of them. I got the Rolls Royce, the Dawn, I wrote a check for it. My Lamborghini Aventador, it was $501,000. Just wrote a check. 2 weeks later, the money was back in my account. Actually, it was 10 days later. Just wrote a check, money came. Got the Bentley Bentayga, wrote a check for it. G-Wagon, wrote a check for it. The new Tesla Model X, wrote a check for it. A souped up Camaro, wrote a check for it. A couple other cars, I forgot what they are, but wrote a check for them. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm telling you, I came from $250,000 in debt, repossessing my car, to now, whenever I want something, I just go write a check for it. And that's the mindset that I've been able to learn. Why? Because I earn money differently than I was taught. And I'm going to show you exactly how I do it, and you can do the same thing. I have to give a disclaimer, and that disclaimer is, I can't guarantee you any income. You can get involved in our business, and you can make absolutely zero. Don't tell anybody about our business. Don't share any services that we offer. Don't do anything, and I can promise you, I can predict how much money you'll make. Zero. Okay? And so the income that you do earn will actually be in proportion to the work that you put in. How we train you, how you apply yourself on some simple, very simple steps. Okay? Very simple steps. How many of you have ever participated in Halloween? Okay, trick or treat.
Looking to start a business from home? The business from home. We are the fastest growing home-based business company in the world that's helping ordinary people just like you and I to get out of debt, generate additional income streams in their life, and creating extraordinary success stories globally. We've got the right systems in place, world-class servant leadership, wealthy compensation plan, and the utmost support you need to start local and go global. To get started, simply text us on WhatsApp, #ReadyToBoom on +356 9946 3303. Again, text #ReadyToBoom on WhatsApp on the number +356 9946 3303 right now. Let's get ready to boom.